Yeah.
Year, so. He said we could reach him if we needed to.
I think.
The meeting of the Village Board of Trustees for the Village of North Hudson shall be called to order. It is Tuesday, September 7th, 2010, 7 p.m. And we will call the meeting to order and start with the roll call. Trustee Catherine?
Here.
President Klein? Absent. Trustee O'Brien Berglund? Here. Trustee Stanford?
Here.
Thomas?
Here.
Flecking?
Here.
And Zappa?
Here.
In the absence of the president, I would request that the members elect a president pro tem for the meeting.
I nominate Trustee Cawthron.
Second.
Motion has been moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Do we need to speak other nominations?
Any discussion?
Any discussion? All right.
Police chief, maybe.
So again, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Read a background check.
Yeah.
Motion passes.
Okay, there'll be no laughing. No laughing. Okay, let's,
There'll be plenty of opportunity for more laughing once he starts.
okay.
I was right. Klein is out of a job. Just
Blew it right in, coffee cup and all.
We got the recorder going?
That's what happens. Like that, you're gone.
Okay. So we've got an agenda in front of us, and it's 7 o'clock. We've had roll call, and we have an official meeting. So the first order of business is the meeting minutes from, let's see, I'm on the wrong one. Still approving the meeting minutes from the regular board meeting of August 3rd, 2010. The chair would entertain a motion to accept those meeting minutes.
We'll go through the minutes from the regular board meeting of Tuesday, August 3rd, 2010.
second.
Motion had been made and seconded. Did you get Daryl's second?
I did, thank you.
Okay, any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Comments from the floor. This is an opportunity for residents or anybody on the floor to make comments so the board is aware of topics or issues or opportunities that are not on today's agenda. If there's anybody that wants to make a comment, please go to the front. I don't see anybody standing up, so I'm guessing that will conclude that item number 3. New business from the board or staff. President's comments, none. Administrators' comments. Do you have anything, Gloria?
Well, I'd just like to let the board know that we did receive our LRIP funds, the $16,105 something for the project, and it has been applied to the 10th Street project. So,
Excellent.
yeah.
Thank you, Kevin. You helped us with that, I'm sure. Anything else, Gloria?
Nope.
And Becky, do you have anything as village clerk to alert anybody to?
Just very briefly, it's come to our attention today after the board agenda went out that we have a possible request for a special village board meeting to consider an extended premises. We're looking possibly at the 22nd of September for that meeting, so you can check your calendars. I think the time is open. Maybe we would consider doing it just a day, but whenever we can get a quorum of the village board together, that would be good.
Could we do it in conjunction with the finance committee meeting that we're having on the 21st?
Unfortunately, the finance committee meeting is on the 27th, and that is after the event, which is scheduled for the 25th. So it would have to be a special meeting of the village board prior to the 25th of September.
We canceled the 21st.
How long do you think that meeting would go for? 15, 20 minutes? Or?
It shouldn't, yeah, it's relatively
Mhm.
routine. It shouldn't take long. So, I don't know if you want to consider the 22nd at this point, or if you need to check your calendars.
We were looking at the 22nd, I think, but sometime.
Yeah.
We thinking sometime after 4 or 5, so that people that are working get here and then,
It wouldn't have to be, it could be in the morning,
oh, okay.
depending on what's
Yeah,
available.
why don't we do the 22nd, and then you can send us an email and see, how many people can meet for that.
Okay. Should we
Get back
tentatively
to you.
schedule it for 9 AM?
There you go.
Earlier? Well, would 8 AM work for everybody? There's a request for earlier than 9 AM?
Day's half gone at 9 o'clock.
Okay, 8 o'clock is fine. 8 o'clock, September 22nd, here, board meeting.
I will send out an email
Yeah.
reminder to everybody, but there will be an
Great.
agenda that will be posted or published regarding the meeting.
Okay, anything
That's all
else?
I have.
Okay.
Thank you.
What's that? Oh, okay. All right, I think, turn the meeting over to the chief.
Only because I'm agenda topic number 5.
Good lucky number 5.
Lucky number 5. Well, ladies and gentlemen of the Board of Trustees, audience members in the room and audience members at home, I'm very grateful for this time today and to be on the agenda for this particular event. I'd like to provide you with some facts to begin with. It's not a story, or I guess it's a true story, but they're facts that I'd like to convey to the board and to the audience, and then I'll go forward with the rest of my presentation. On Wednesday, February 17, 2010, at 12:31 a.m., North Hudson Officer Kyle Knepler was dispatched to a residence in the 600 block of 4th Street North for a 44-year-old woman who was in respiratory distress and may have stopped breathing. Officer Knepler requested assistance from his on-duty partner, North Hudson Officer Brian Colombino. Both officers responded to the residence using their emergency lights and sirens. Upon arrival, Officer Knepler found the female patient lying on her bed. He performed an initial assessment of the patient and found she was not breathing and did not have a pulse. Officer Colombino arrived and assisted Officer Knepler by beginning CPR. Officer Knepler prepared the automated external defibrillator, AED, which are carried in all North Hudson squad cars. He placed the pads on the patient, allowed the AED to analyze rhythms, and was instructed by the machine to deliver a shock. Officer Colombino stopped CPR as instructed. Officer Knepler determined the patient was clear of all contact with he or Officer Colombino, and one shock was delivered. Officers continued to perform CPR upon the arrival of the St. Croix EMS personnel and traded off performing CPR when the other would become tired. Officers assisted St. Croix EMS with CPR for approximately 30 minutes until the patient was stable enough to transport to the Hudson Medical Center. Those are the facts. At this time, I'd like to invite Officer Kyle Knepler and Officer Brian Colombino to the podium. You guys would like to stand over here. All right, I'm going to show my age a bit. Some of you might remember the cartoon with the Wonder Twins. It kind of goes a little ways back. Those characters were related, but these two officers seem to have a lot in common. They were hired and sworn in on the same date, and together on Wednesday, February 17, 2010, they saved a life together. It is my distinct honor to stand here tonight to award these two officers with the North Hudson Police Department Life-Saving Medal. The North Hudson Police Department Life-Saving Medal is awarded to an officer for outstanding actions conducted while on duty, which cause a person in a life-threatening situation to sustain life until advanced life support measures can be provided by a person trained to a higher level of medical treatment. I will now provide you with your medal. If you could hold them up so everyone could see. Included with the medal is a uniform bar with a blue cross to signify the life-saving efforts performed on this patient. The uniform bar will be worn on the officer's Class B uniform to remind them of their outstanding actions and to display to others the recognition by the department and the citizens they serve for a job well done. Please join me in thanking and congratulating these two officers.
Outstanding.
How's the patient doing?
I don't know.
Patient survived.
Yeah, it sounds that way.
Certificate for you as well.
Would have been nice to have her here, huh?
You're welcome. All right. Nice job, guys.
Outstanding, guys. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Congratulations. Mark, how is the patient?
She's doing well. I called and made several invitations, but they were declined.
Oh, well, that's fine.
Understandably,
That's incredible.
I think.
Sure.
Yeah.
I think that's understandable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You are.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Okay, item number 5 done. Item number 6 is adoption of ordinance 5, 2010, amending Chapter 98 zoning, Article 2, district regulations. I'm not going to read this whole thing necessarily, but it concerns commercial districts C1, C2, and C3 in Section 9834. And I'm not sure who's going to lead that discussion. Is that from Plan?
Well, Mike is here. Mike must be going to.
What did you say the ordinance number was? I've got 02-2010 on mine. Do you
I've
have
got 05, 2010.
Becky?
Maybe that was the first time it came through.
This isn't the first time, is it? I just want to make sure we're talking about the right one.
Here, would you
No,
like-
it's a good question. What we've got on the ordinance or the packet is 05, 2010.
Here,
Ordinance number?
you can use mine.
My minutes say 02. That's why I didn't double check from the minutes. Thank you.
Well,
Whatever. So you will correct it.
I will make sure that it is.
Thank you.
I have 05.
Okay. So it's in the Plan Commission minutes, need to be corrected.
Okay, thank you.
I missed that on the review. Okay, we've talked about this before a few times. When I was here last month, you as a board had approved this zoning change, and then it wasn't too long after that, a person with a conditional use permit wanted to do something, and there was some ambiguity in the language. And so you took care of that. We as a Plan Commission felt, with council's advice, that he needed, at that case, the way the ordinance was written, the way we read it, the way we intended it, that he needed to have an amended conditional use permit. And so last month you allowed that person an amended conditional use permit, and then you waived the fees because there was some questions about it could be done. And then what we did on our last meeting was we tried to clear up that ambiguous language. That's what this is about tonight. Just looking ahead to Plan Commission minutes, a second applicant came in, also looking to build something where this ambiguous language was there. So we'll be talking about it later tonight. So basically, we discussed as a Plan Commission what the problem was. The problem was, well, let's see, I don't even know if I have the existing. This is the amended version, so I don't have the original, what the ambiguous language was. But it had to do with
I think the ambiguous language is crossed out in this.
Oh, okay.
The
Okay.
original language.
Oh, very
If
good.
you wanted to refer to that, you
Yes,
can
I would.
do that.
Because we said that all new construction, all new construction and reconstruction and remodeling where the cost is greater than 50% of the current assessed value of the existing structure would require a conditional use permit or an amended one if they already had one. It would not be a permitted use. The ambiguity came in where with the ands and the ors and what was the 50%. And so, okay, when we talked about it last month, we said, oh, the way we meant this to be was anything new required a conditional use permit. Or if you were adding on to a building and it was more than 50%, or if you were doing reconstruction, like the interior or something, then you'd need a conditional use permit. That was what we intended when we wrote it the first time and what we talked about 2 months ago, last month at your meeting. So what the Plan Commission ended up doing was we decided we really want to have some input to really for the benefit of all the residents of the village on new construction. We don't want to just have a permanent use that somebody can put up a building and just go ahead and do something. And we had quite a bit of discussion about, we don't want to micromanage anything, but we do want to be able to have some say, or at least we're at the Plan Commission are the ones that are looking at the interests of the village at that point. So we broke it up into pieces as we did it. I'm looking at my minutes here and just to see how we came up with it. So we said all new construction, except exterior construction where the cost is less than 50%, needs a conditional use permit. So what that means is if somebody wants to add a garage, then that's a permitted use. And they don't have to come to the Plan Commission. They don't have to get a conditional use permit. That was one of the ways we changed this ordinance here.
They still would have to get a building permit.
Yes.
But just not.
Yeah. This is just the conditional use permit part of it.
Before you go any further,
Sure.
I just want to, there may be people listening in and they could get confused by all of this.
Right.
But this has to do with commercial property only,
Yes.
not
Thank you.
private property, not houses.
That's
or
correct. It's in
anything like
commercial
that.
districts
Yes, I
C1,
just wanna-
commercial district C2, C3, and the
Yeah.
industrial commercial
Yeah, in
district.
case there's
Thank
somebody
you. That's a
listening
good
in, I didn't
clarification.
want them to get too nervous about all of this.
Yes. And then the second part, because we talked about the threshold, about if somebody's remodeling the exterior, how much, where do you draw the line on when to just go ahead and, we don't want to know that they're putting shutters on or painting it. But again, if somebody's going to do something that drastically alters their building, we should run it by the Plan Commission so we can make sure it stays with the standards of the village and things like that. So what we came up with, it was exterior remodeling where the cost is greater than 25% of the value of the existing structure. That's a lot. You would have to do a lot to your building to exceed 25% of the cost of the building. But at least it gives us something without tamping on the rights of the building owner. We don't want to do that. We just want to be able to protect the village here. And that was the two main changes we had on the existing ordinance. And it applies to all, just like you mentioned, all of the commercial districts. So the way the ordinance is drawn up, there's a C1 commercial use and a C2 and a C3. And then there's also the industrial/commercial district. And we added one thing to the industrial district that says other industrial uses similar in nature to the permitted industrial uses and other commercial uses, we've forgotten the word commercial for the industrial thing, which are compatible, were found to be conditional uses. So if on your ordinance you have the changes, and you have the changes on here, that's the rationale behind it. We think that clears it up. So in layman's terms, if somebody wants to add a small building, a garage, a storage shed, they can do that if building permits, and things like that are required. But you don't have to get a conditional use permit. And like you mentioned about residential people don't need a conditional use permit. So this is commercial. We think this has it. Council, do you agree? We have it clearer now?
They discussed this at length, and I think they came up
It was-
with a good.
We thought it'd be a 20-minute meeting, and it was an hour and a half. I mean, we discussed it thoroughly. As you know, for many times I've been here, we've talked about it a lot.
There was a lot of discussion about, well, should it be 50% or should it be 25% or should it be nothing?
Yes.
There were
Oh,
some board
absolutely.
members in favor of more regulation, some board members in favor of less regulation, and this is what.
This
the
is our
recommendation
recommendation.
we Came up with.
Daryl?
Mike, what prompted the change of the language? Was it because you noticed the ambiguous nature, or did something specific happen? Was there an applicant?
Yes. The applicant that you voted on last month, who...
Mr. Heinen?
Okay, I wondered if that was
Yes,
the one.
Mr. Heinen, the one with the machine shop.
That prompted.
He found it.
Yes.
He came in and he talked to Becky and he said, well, the way I read it, I don't,
Okay, and as a result of that.
And then we were looking at it and say, oh, you can read it this way or you can read it that way. So we felt we needed to clear it up.
Okay, thank you.
And what are the odds that, how long has, we've had ordinances and now 2 months in a row people wanted to add something that, that's really not what we had in mind when we did this.
It's evolution. Okay, Any other comments or discussion on that? The chair would entertain a motion to adopt ordinance number 05-2010 as written. Okay, got a motion. Any second?
I'll second.
Okay, motion has been made and seconded. Did you get those, Becky? Any other discussion? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? I don't think we need a roll call on that, do we? Thanks. That does it. Do you want to stay up there and talk about chair update?
Thank you.
The only other topic we had at the Plan Commission meeting of August 18th, as I mentioned, was related to that. The gentleman who owns BOH Electronics, and he said he was in the old Jones Chemical office building, so it's over on that end of the shop. And he had an existing concrete foundation left over from Jones that he wanted to put a garage on. And it was almost verbatim what we had the month before, saying, well, the way we read this, you need to amend your conditional use permit. Because, we're talking about fixing it, but the way we read it, you have to do that. It's a garage. The building inspector looked at it, engineer report, had no problem with it. And we discussed it, and basically Becky put together an issue statement on that, this document here. What you did last month was you waived the fees on the gentleman who, and so anyway, on the motion that we had voted on, it suggested to the board that you waive the fees, or at least the monies that haven't been spent yet, but that's what the issue statement's for. That of course is your call.
Okay.
It's pretty straightforward. He's putting in a garage.
Well, the question I have is, based on just what we just passed,
Yes.
if he would have come forward with that tomorrow, would we even be talking?
No,
Okay, that's what I
that's exactly the point.
thought. Okay. So,
And that's all the only business we had last month.
okay. So,
So we did recommend to you a change in his conditional use permit, which, under the regulations, he probably still would need, because he came in before tomorrow.
Right. Okay. Okay. Well, the board chair would entertain the suggested motion that you've got in the packet, if somebody would like to read that.
Or any other motion.
Or any other motion.
Can
Yeah,
I
sorry.
interject one thing here? Not to be a problem child, but last month we returned all of the refunded everything. And so I think that we should treat them equally and refund everything, because there wouldn't have been a advertisement fee had it been clarified before he came in. So
Advertisement fee.
the publication fee for the hearing for Plan Commission,
Oh.
because he wouldn't have had to come into Plan Commission at all.
Mhm.
So instead, and it's like, I think $30 or $40.
My comment is, we discussed that, we didn't know if we could
Which
suggest that
way
or not, so Plan Commission has no objection.
And we liked it. Unfortunately, the first motion for the first person that came through, everything was refunded, and I think that we need
Yes.
to treat them equally and refund it all.
Okay, that's a good get. Can we just include application fee, unused fee, and publication fee?
You could probably just scratch the word unused.
Yeah.
Unused, yeah, take that out.
Take that out?
And this should be the last time.
Okay.
Because nobody has come in before today, right?
Okay.
That is,
But it'll be something else next month.
All right. Well, I'm waiting for a motion.
Move approval of the amended conditional use permit for BOH Electronics with the following conditions. All federal, state, and local requirements are met, and 2, all previous conditions remain in effect, and approve the refund of the application fee and escrow funds.
We're gonna,
That makes sense to you?
Second.
Okay. Motion has been made and seconded. Is there any other discussion? All right. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Thanks, Mike.
Thank you.
That was very,
Chief, am I dismissed?
yeah, not so fast. Okay. Personnel and Finance Committee meeting recommendations is item number 8. And we have claims approval. And I think, Jim, I think you,
Oh, sorry. Be happy to.
would you help us out there?
I would move to approve the August 2010 non-recurring claims totaling $128,874.17.
Second.
Okay, the motion has been made and seconded. I think we have to do a roll call on that, do we not?
Correct.
All right. Quicken,
Yes.
Thomas,
Yes.
Stanifer.
Yes.
Cawthorn, yes. Go ahead down there.
Yes.
Yes.
All right. Motion is carried. Next item is budget update. Let's see. Yeah, budget update approval requested. I think you just had some comments, did you not, Gloria?
Just to continue to process the budget and getting things forward. We have a few things that are out there, and we really need to keep moving on this. There will be a couple of special budget meetings to work on these as a workshop, so hopefully we'll get moving on them and get them brought forward. That's it.
Okay. Item number C is bank loan bid selection approval requested. I think, yeah, we're still doing that one.
We completed the 10th Street project, I think, as everyone knows, and we did submit requests for proposals for bids to finance that project. We did receive 2 bids. I'm prepared, Mr. Chairman, to offer the following motion: move to accept the loan bid from First National Community Bank for an amount of $125,636 at 4.5% fixed over a 15-year repayment schedule with semi-annual installments beginning in 2011 and with no prepayment penalties.
Do I hear a second?
What was the percent?
4.5?
4.50.
I'll second.
Okay, is there any discussion on that? That's for a project we completed this summer.
Yeah, that's correct. The 10th Street project.
Been done.
Right.
Okay. Okay, all those in favor, let's see, we better do a roll call. We'll start down this avenue down here. Mark?
Aye.
Yes.
Elaine? Joe, yes. Darrell?
Yes.
Jim?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Motion is carried. Now, there was, that was item D.
No, that's item.
That one is tabled.
That's C.
Okay.
D is pulled.
D we did.
No.
It's pulled.
D.
It's tabled.
D is pulled. We just did C.
Okay.
Cross out D.
Cross out D.
Well,
Authorization
do we
to
need
borrow
to
10,000
have
road
the
project
board
approval
make a
request.
motion to table?
No, you don't have the resolution ready, is what you indicated.
Right, but because it's on the agenda, does the board have to table it formally?
No, it can be pulled
Okay.
from the agenda.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, let's see. Capital purchases is next. And this has to do with items that we plan on purchasing in 2011, I believe. New squad car, police safety.
No, those
are-
items have been
done?
purchased.
Okay, I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
This would
Public
simply
Works
be
truck.
authorization to go out and
Go for the
request
loan.
bid proposals.
All right, that's right.
I'm prepared to make a motion, Mr. Chairman, if you're ready.
Yep.
I move that the administrator be authorized to solicit bids from local and state lending institutions for a loan to fund the purchase of a new squad car, police safety equipment, budgeting software, a new public works truck with contractor body and snowplow, and a contractor body for the International, in an amount not to exceed $100,000, to be repaid in 5 years. Loan terms will incorporate provisions for semi-annual payments, with the first payment due in March and the second in June, and again with no prepayment penalties.
Given that the second payment will be due in June, I believe that may actually be.
Did I say that? If I did, it was incorrect. It should read with the first payment due in March and the second in September. I'm sorry. Freudian slip.
No. Okay, do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Okay, we'll do a roll call again. Quicken?
Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry. Any discussion? I'll start down on this end.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, motion is carried. And I think item F, were we not?
That's also pulled
That's
from
also
the agenda.
tabled, right? Home prepayment policy. This item, we're gonna wait on that one, right?
Correct.
Okay. Okay, that concludes the Personal Finance Committee recommendations for this evening or for this month. Next item is Public Works Committee recommendations, so I'll turn that over to Daryl.
I have nothing to add under chair update, so let's move right to agenda item B, which is the levying of the special assessments on the now completed 10th Street project. We do have a resolution. It is in your board packet as resolution number 2010-10, and it's the final resolution authorizing street improvements and levying the special assessments against the benefited properties on 10th Street North. I think it would be appropriate to have Kevin address this. The final special assessments, the good news is they are less than what we earlier estimated, but for purposes of getting him able to address that, I will move approval of the resolution 2010-10, and if that's seconded, then Kevin can address it.
Second.
Okay, go ahead, Kevin.
All right. I think everybody has a copy of the final assessment report. Give you an idea of where the project actually ended up coming in at. As Daryl was saying, it did come in lower than what the preliminary numbers were figured for the project. And I'll just go through this very quickly. Some of the high points. Because basically, what we talked about before, 50% of the street reconstruction was going to be assessed to the benefiting property owners. There's about 30 parcels along that section of roadway. And then there were some storm sewer improvements that were done also. In the current assessment policy, the village doesn't assess any of those costs. That's actually a village expense. Page number 4, Schedule A, gives you an idea of the 30 parcels that were assessed. Page 5, by the time the construction costs in engineering and admin, we came up with a total project cost of $141,741.57. It's roughly about $8,000 less than what the preliminary assessment number we were figuring for. As part of the resolution, there are a couple of options for the property owners to pay those fees. First of all, there is an option of paying it in full by October 25th of this year. Otherwise, they can put it on their taxes per se. It'll show up as a special assessment dollar. And there is some accommodations based on the dollar amount that's being assessed, how much they are given for grace period to pay back. And typically, if you look at Schedule C, that'll give you an idea of, which is on page number 9 and 10, way on the right-hand side. That gives you an idea of what the costs are per parcel. If you look down through there, on the average, it's around $1,300.
You did this on a per foot basis?
Yep. Yep, it's on a front footage basis. And with that dollar amount, according to the policy that the village has, those folks will be able to pay that back in a 4-year period if they wish.
And the people on the corner get a little break, or no, that's a, yeah.
Yep, they do get, corner lots do get a credit.
And that's the city of Hudson
Yes.
that gets the break, huh?
Yes.
Okay. But they also pay, right?
Yes, they do.
They get billed for that.
Yep, they are built into to the report.
Kevin, in the event that a resident would elect to defer part of this and put it on their tax assessment, if after, say for instance, year one, they elected to pay it in full, they can easily do that?
Yes.
I mean, once they elect a decision, it's not for the whole duration, they can pay it
Correct.
off.
Yep, the only thing they'd have to pay is built into the resolution,
Plus
interest.
the funds.
Yep, the interest or whatever, it's a 1.5%
1.5%
more.
of the village cost funds, yeah.
That's correct, Daryl.
They would come in and I would run them a
Right.
paid through date, and that would calculate their interest through that date.
And then on page 12 is just more of an itemized, all the different items as part of the projects, what the quantities were and the unit prices to come up with the total project cost, just a little more breakdown. So tonight, we are looking for the resolution to be adopted by the village board as part of the agenda. So I'll open it up. Any questions maybe some of the board members would have? But
Well, the key part of this resolution really is Schedule C, is that correct?
yes,
That is the final assessment schedule. That will be the dollar amounts
correct,
assessed against those affected property owners.
correct. Yep,
And the non-assessable costs were the storm sewer fees, or the cost for the storm sewer. The road was accessible, but not
Not the full.
Not the storm
Not the full
sewer.
amount, though.
not the storm sewer,
yep, that's not accessible. That comes out of the general fund then.
Yeah.
per the assessment policy.
Correct.
The reason I just bring this up is I want to keep this in mind as we're doing the storm utility fund.
Yes.
Okay.
So that would become a eligible item as part of the stormwater utility if it is created at a later date.
Yeah.
Yes.
To reiterate too, I think 50% of the reconstruction cost of the road is non-accessible too.
Yes. Yep. And that's based on how many years
Yeah,
the
20
roadway.
years.
Yep. Anything above 20 years, it's 50%. If it's less than that, then there's a pro rata
Yeah.
factor that reduces that amount.
Any more discussion? Any other discussion? Any other comments by board members? Okay, this is do we need a roll call, sir?
It's probably you don't require one, but it's not a bad idea on something like this.
Okay, let's start down here with Mark.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
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 Okay, motion's carried. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Next item, well, you're running this.
The next item is agenda item number C, and that also has been pulled from the agenda. That was discussed in Public Works, but there has been some subsequent information, and we're not prepared to bring a recommendation to the full village board, and we indicated that at Finance as well. So C is stricken from the agenda. D is the Public Works garage lease. We have discussed that here at the full board previously. We've discussed it several times in Public Works, and the recommendation from Public Works that also came through Finance and is now a recommendation to the full board is, and Mr. Chairman, I'll present this as a motion. I move to approve a 5-year renewal of the current Public Works garage lease with the addition of a new 1,600 square foot detached building for a total of $3,250 per month, or an annual expenditure of $39,000.
Second.
Is there any discussion on that? I think the lease agreement is in your packet if you had a chance to look
It
at
is.
that. And again, we talked about this at the Finance Committee, and it's identical to the previous lease agreement that we had, except for the additional building and the additional cost of that building. So, is there any discussion on this or the necessity, or anybody need any clarification on the lease?
I guess I would just say parenthetically, and maybe for anyone watching this, the addition of the 1,600 square foot detached building that will be added to that pad site is a cold building. It is not heated. It will be cold storage. It will be utilized approximately 50% by Public Works and approximately 50% by Public Safety. And there will be some cost offset because we are currently renting storage space and evidence space in Holton at an annual cost of approximately $1,600, and that lease expense now goes away, plus the transportation cost and the travel time to take things back and forth from secure lockup and evidence storage in Holton.
Okay. My guess is we should do a roll call vote on that as well. We can start down on this end.
Yes.
Thomas?
Yes.
Yes.
Standiford? Cawthorn, yes?
Yes.
Mark?
Abstain.
Okay. Motion has carried.
Our final item, agenda item number E, we discussed the capital projects that we have as far as the village are concerned, and looked at the priority rankings and the PACER rankings of those projects. And it is the recommendation of Public Works after discussion, and that also came through Finance then, to include, and I will so move, Mr. Chairman, to include in our 2011 budget the capital improvement projects for Station Lane North and Station Circle North. Those have not been put out for bid, so at this point we do not have final information. Very preliminary information from our engineer is approximately $80,000 for each of those projects. But if our experience on those projects is somewhat analogous to what we experienced on the 10th Street project, we can anticipate that the final bids, when they come in, would be significantly less. And I guess I don't see any evidence to suspect that that might not be still the case. So the motion is to include those two in the 2011 budget consideration process.
I'll second. I think I can do that. Yeah, the only discussion that I would have is and comment really is basically we're not approving these projects this time. We're just putting them in the budget, and it will be at a later date for the board to approve and for engineering to get these projects going. And based on that, is there any other discussion? Okay, all those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion is carried. And that concludes Public Works. Public Safety, did you have any comments? Okay.
There's one item that came forward as far as public safety goes from the last Public Safety Committee meeting and will occur prior to the next board meeting that I wanted to make sure was televised on Saturday, September 25th from noon until 4. Several agencies within St. Croix County will be collecting prescription drugs at no cost to the village as well as no cost to the resident. The DEA, Drug Enforcement Agency, has put together a one-time collection that they're trying to bring in all of these items, and they're going to pay for the destruction of those prescription drugs. And there's a list on the St. Croix County website, and I'm going to try to link our website to that link as well. But basically, it's all prescription drugs, no liquids. But anything in a bottle, what we're asking you to do, and we'll have these available at the site as well on September 25th from noon to 4 as small Ziploc plastic bags. Dump all of the contents into those bags, go ahead and seal them, and then turn them into the police department here at the Village Hall on that date between those hours, between noon and 4. We will not be collecting any data on who's dropping those items off. It's basically a free and clear drop-off to dispose of old prescriptions. If you had maybe a grandmother or grandfather or someone that passed away and you don't know what to do with those prescriptions, we'll take all of those. Basically, it's an effort to make sure that we don't have kids that are possibly taking the pills by accident and getting sick or possibly worse. So hopefully those drugs then go away so that the illegal use of them is not in place, as well as kind of the old idea was, well, if you don't know what to do with them, flush them. And they've had a lot of problems with changes in the water tables and the pollution from those particular items. So this is a one-time event at this point. The county and other agencies are looking at trying to make this an annual, that we'll be collecting them year-round. But this came up at a very good time for us when we were in the middle of making those decisions and doing that processing to see really how much we can bring in from the particular areas. So Baldwin, New Richmond, River Falls, Hudson, North Hudson, and St. Croix County, I may have left one out, Somerset, all of those agencies will be collecting at their particular village halls or at their police departments, and all at the same time on September 25th. It's a Saturday from noon until 4. So any questions at this point on that?
Good comment. I think
All right.
that's really worthwhile. Can we get that in the paper somehow?
I believe there is a press release that has gone out.
It'll be coming.
Okay.
Yeah, and we're working closely with St. Croix County Recycling, the Sheriff's Department, and a couple other agencies to make sure that this gets widely dispersed as far as the media goes and to try to get the word out there so we can have a successful collection. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. That concludes public safety comments. Public welfare committee report.
All right, we will forego the chair update. Fall leaf curbside pickup this year will be on November 8th. It's typically the first Monday of November, but since Halloween is preceding that, we decided it's probably not in our best interest to have thousands of leaf bags laying around the streets for kids to flop around in. So that will be November 8th. And again, just so we are clear, they will be picking these up Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, but all bags must be placed curbside prior to 6:30 a.m. on November 8th.
And the bags, do they have to be disposable?
Oh, yes, thank you very much. If anybody is going to be utilizing the service, please go on our website. They have to be compostable, biodegradable bags. And the best way to tell paper bags are acceptable. Otherwise, the bags, is it determined they have to be clear, or what is the final? Is there?
I know you can purchase rather large leaf bags that are made of paper.
Right.
You can do that.
It seems to be the
At-
best alternative.
Yeah.
But yes, nothing will be picked up that is not biodegradable. So.
There is an ASTM standard of D6400 that the bags have to comply with that standard. There is an informational postcard being mailed out from Veolia to all village residents with some additional specific information on what are acceptable bags. So that should be coming out probably the middle of this month, so residents can watch for that postcard to come with more information and details on those specific acceptable bags.
There's no limit of the number of bags,
There is not.
and you don't have to bring it to the hall. You can just leave it out in front of the curb.
Absolutely. Indeed. Thank you very much, Becky. With that, we'll move on to the animal warden contract. At this point, we have negotiated a 2-year contract for animal control. And I would move to the board to approve the approval of the new fees schedule for the animal control services and the 2-year contract for the animal warden at this point.
Second.
Okay, the motion has been made and seconded. We did discuss this in terms of adding to what Jim has said. We did discuss it at finance, and the amount of dollars here that is spent in the community for this is somewhere south of $2,000 a year. So it's not a big expense for the village, and so I just wanted to make that comment. Any other comments about this contract?
No, at this point, she does a great job. The majority of the money is recuperated. Some of it obviously does come at a cost, but we feel it's a wonderful policy to have in place for residents if there's any issues that are happening with stray, loose, barking, any animals that are a nuisance. So it seems like a very fair contract.
Okay, so since this is a cost item, we'll do a roll call, starting down here. Wicken?
Yes.
Thomas?
Yes.
Stanifer? Cawthorn, yes?
Yes.
Mark?
Yeah.
Okay, motion has carried.
Okay. At this time, the last item is River Valley Deer Management Contract. This is an ongoing contract that we had voted on last year, and it's a multi-year contract. There has been an addition to this that the chief of police did bring to my attention, and at this point I would make the motion to the board to approve the contract with River Valley Deer Management with the addition that all hunters being approved by the chief of police or his designee after submitting to a background check prior to beginning any hunting in the village of North Hudson. Any hunter recommended for denial by the chief of police will not be allowed to hunt until he or she submits in writing an appeal request to the village clerk, and a hearing is completed at the next regularly scheduled meeting of the Village of North Hudson Board of Trustees.
Jim, you mean we're going to have a hearing to see if somebody's eligible to hunt?
No. No, that's only if it's appealed, Mark. So if,
Well, I know, but it's open to an appeal. The point is if somebody wants to appeal the fact that they can't hunt, we're going to be discussing that at a board meeting?
that
Why
was,
should the chief
that would be a
respond to that?
question for Mark, yeah.
Wouldn't it be preferable that his decision stands alone? I don't think it's...
That's a good question, that may be,
I can give you an answer to that. A citizen has to have an appeal process of some sort. You have to give them some appeal process.
Although I appreciate your trust in me, I agree that a lot of our ordinances with relation to permits, licensures, if there is a denial, now, obviously it depends on the purpose or the reason for the denial, I think, whether or not they would appeal. I mean, if they have 6 felonies on their record, I don't know that they're going to come back. But.
Practicality, because 99.9% of the time we're going
yes.
to need denial.
We do need a second for this.
Joe?
The appeal process doesn't have to be the
Oh, I'm
board, it
sorry.
could be a
I'll
committee
second
or
it.
something like that,
Okay.
but there has to be some way for the citizen to appeal.
Thanks, Darrell.
Could I respectfully suggest that it
Lost
goes to the
control.
public welfare committee or something? I don't see the need for the whole board to meet for this sort of appeal.
And that would be up to the board. The only reason I brought up the board is because there are several of the
No, I
other ones
understand.
include the
I'm
board.
just kind of looking at on the odd chance. I really don't want to come down here if there's a denial. I don't feel like sitting through this.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd be sensitive to what he's saying, yeah.
Yeah.
If there's some way to protect the appeal process, but not involving the whole board, I think that'd be fine.
As long as it's an unbiased, as long as I have the opportunity to come before some unbiased decision maker to appeal his decision, it's okay.
Well, why not the Public Safety Committee?
Public welfare.
Would it be public safety, though, or would it be public welfare? Because I don't know, I've never done any background
It
checks.
doesn't matter. I think public welfare, you've dealt with the process up to this point, if I had to make a suggestion.
And I think public safety just might have the onus on it because of my connection to that committee. might have the onus of having maybe not the unbiased nature that he's describing.
Well, with the optimism that I don't think we'll run into anything, I would be happy to say that public welfare would take on the responsibility.
Okay, before we get to that, one is Daryl Standifer seconded the motion. Did you get that, Becky?
I had not been.
Okay, so I don't lose any more control. I'm wondering if we should deal with that resolution first, or do we need to deal with the recommendation that we do something else?
Well, I think it's all part of it. While the chief
Okay.
is up there, I've got a couple of other quick questions.
Okay.
Sure.
Although they're maybe not directed to Mark.
Are you amending the motion then to state instead of the board of trustees, that it would be the public welfare committee?
Am I? No.
Okay,
Someone might, but
okay.
me, no. A couple of quick questions, though. First of all, an observation, and Jim, I'm supportive of the program. But there's some unfortunate language toward the bottom of page 2, and I would prefer that the entity, which is River Valley Deer Management, consider changing the language that currently reads, River Valley Deer Management will execute the village deer management program according to the following. I would prefer that say something other than River Valley Deer Management will execute the village deer. It just, someone that wants to push back on this, administer, I mean, any other word, I think would be preferable, so it's
Sure.
just a wordsmithing observation.
Sure, I can understand where you're coming from there.
But more to the point, last year, I thought the program operated very well, and understand that it was our pilot year and first year, and there was no cost to the village to operate and administer the program, and I just would like some response why, after having a successful program last year, and we're intending to replicate it this year, why the cost from last year went from 0 to $1,850.
Certainly. Well, everybody is probably aware of the fact that River Valley Deer Management is the same organization that's going to be doing the pilot program for Hudson this year. Hudson will be incurring the same costs next year. The fixed costs that they have to put this hunt together with baiting, with costs, direct costs of equipment, stands, what it is that they use, in addition to the time that they spend with administering the program, working with the DNR and testing prospective candidates for this, does absorb quite a bit of time. They did this as a favor to us last year. They're doing it as a favor to Hudson this year, and it's basically a way to cover their direct costs that they've got.
Did
The other-
welfare expect this? Did we expect to be, if we continue the program, to expect to have to cover some of the costs in
Yeah.
year 2?
Yeah, we
Okay.
did.
I-
Yeah, we did have the unfortunate situation. We hope that it doesn't happen again this year. A couple of their blinds or stands were stolen. Mark is aware of that, just by uninformed residents. And so they do incur some costs for doing this. We do have the grant in place, so we are getting 50% of this covered through the grant process.
50% of the
Of the
1,800?
1850, yeah, that's already been approved, and Gloria and Becky have taken care of the administrative end of that, and so 50% of this is covered by the
That
DNR.
money is spent this year in 2010?
I'm sorry,
The
Joe?
money is spent in 2010?
Yes.
Okay.
And I believe, does it go through 2011, Gloria?
Well, the deer season does, but
As
if
far as
it's
the
a
grant.
2010 expense, it will be in 2010,
Okay.
accrued to that year.
But the grant process that's in place, will that go through 2011,
It
2012?
is a two-year,
It is
you
a
have
two-year
2
grant.
years to spend the grant monies.
Oh.
And we have already received 2,500 from the DNR upfront, and we budgeted to 2,500 in 2010 for this program.
Okay.
Then a question to the chief. Excuse me.
I have a question for Daryl. You qualified this as a success last year. What does that mean?
I think based on the expectation of the number of deer to be reduced from the herd, it met those goals.
What are those? I'm asking because most of the questions I get, does it do any good? Does anybody know what happened? And I go, I really don't know.
Sure.
So
I thought the
That's a good question.
So far, when
I thought the goal
measured
last year
against a
was
zero cost, anything's a success.
Yeah.
Now that it's going to cost, and I got a feeling it's going to migrate as it goes further, the questions I get from people are going to be maybe a little less patience with them, because you got two sides of perception out there, and some think it's a complete waste of time. So when you said success, I was wondering what you mean by success. Are there any quantitative terms for that?
What I meant was, it was my understanding that the program goals last year were to reduce the herd between 20 and 50, and 23 were in fact taken successfully. Every arrow that an archer used was accounted for. So by those measurements, safety and meeting the target goals were met. That's why I called it a success.
No, that's fine. I'm not questioning it, but rather than the vague use of success, I think it's behooves the program to mention some numbers and what their goals were. So it's unless I missed those before, which
You
I
did,
very well could
because
have.
I think Jim reported on that when the final numbers came in from River Valley before.
That's a good comment.
That is.
What do we have goals that are going to be increased for this year? Is that
They're not going to be increased,
It's also quantified in here.
but
Well, you should look at your grant.
An estimated 30 to 50 is what's
Documents.
quantified in this program.
okay?
So I guess by that measurement and using my same response to you, if next year we harvest 23, I would be unable to call it a success because we didn't meet our goal.
Okay.
Follow-up question then to the chief. You will, in fact, be doing, I know the people involved in this, so I don't think you're going to have a problem, but you will be doing a background check on 100% of the named individuals that are proposed to be the archers under this program. Is that correct?
That's
I
correct.
think that would give a public assurance of safety.
Yeah, my understanding, and again, I saw this for the first time today. My understanding from Gloria is that they're looking at approximately 16 hunters to be used in their program between the city of Hudson and the village of North Hudson. All may not hunt here, but all will be backgrounded in the event that all of a sudden they run short on people for the North Hudson side and they need to change back and forth. So my understanding is that River Valley Deer Management has agreed to background all 16 of their hunters in the event that they do come over here.
Great, thank you.
Okay, I think we have this, a motion has been made and seconded, have we not, Becky? But we were discussing the appeal process, and I think, we probably need to have some sort of language in this motion that would set up that appeal process, right?
I think Mark had a good suggestion, having put it in the form of an amendment.
we could do a friendly amendment to this that would just simply change Board of Trustees to the Public Welfare, if that suffices.
Made the original
Would it have to
motion.
be a regularly scheduled meeting?
Yeah, put it in the form of an amendment, I'll second it.
Did you make the original motion?
Move to amend.
Okay, I move to amend the motion to change the appeal board from the Board of Trustees to the Public Welfare Committee.
Second.
Okay, any discussion? Any further discussion?
Mark, did you get your questions answered as to the success or how we quantify it?
Yeah, no, I was curious myself, and as Gloria said, I probably missed it somewhere along the line when these things are talked about, but as we go from spending zero to starting to spend some money, and we have a $2,500 grant that covers that, and we all hear from different people around the village, but what I seem to hear is it's not taken very seriously, and my basic response is it doesn't cost anything. Well, now that it's going to start to cost something, I need to have a better response. And so when Daryl said a success, I wasn't criticizing that you said that. I was just looking for something that quantified the measure of success.
And the other, the success also, I mean, we maybe they reduced by 23. How do we don't know that we maybe increased by 28? I mean, anybody, I've hunted deer for a lot of years. You shoot them, they come back. I mean, and as far as, I just don't see it as a good use of village money, taxpayers' money. I mean, the grant, yeah, that's still out of taxpayers' money.
I think you brought up a good point, and we don't want residents, we don't want to be drawing deer into the village by feeding them, by luring them in, only to have to incur cost and time and everything that we're doing to try to get the population back in a controllable level. A lot of what we're going by is the numbers that we're seeing, reports that Lawn Deer Management or River Valley Deer Management put together with Harvey Helverson DNR report. We will be validating these this year with an aerial survey to see what is really happening in our village. So that's also part of the grant process that we've been approved to do. So I think by the end of this year, once we get some snow on the ground, we'll be able to really come up with some of the answers that everybody is searching for.
How many reported car deer accidents did we have in the village last year?
I don't have that number off the top of my head. And without running a report, I would say of the ones I can remember, probably less than a handful. Or less than 5, and I can come back to you with that information. I just wasn't prepared for it tonight.
And I'm stressing the reported.
Sure. And I can't speak to the unreported.
Okay.
Need to vote on the amendment.
Yeah. Do we need to vote on the amendment
first?
First. Okay. All those in favor of the amendment that Mark talked about for the appeals process going to the welfare? Welfare committee. Signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, opposed? Okay, that motion is carried. We still have the
Now we have
full
the
motion for the
Right.
for the approval of this contract. And since it is a cost contract, we'll do a roll call vote starting down here with Mark.
Yes.
Yes.
Colleen? Yes?
Yes.
Jim?
Yes.
No.
Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Motion is carried. That'll do that one. Is there anything else that you've got, Jim?
I believe that is everything that I have. Thank you very much, Phil.
Thank you. Colleen?
The Park Board continues to work on trying to acquire the railroad property, and what we would like to do is just send a letter of inquiry to the railroad, kind of get their feel. Basically, what we would like for them is to just give us the property since it's so expensive. So Patrick from Cedar Corp and I, with some input for George, put together this letter to kind of feel out their opinion, to see if they would take the ball and run with it. And just to see kind of where it goes. And it was suggested that we bring the copy of the letter to the board, just to get their approval, or if there were comments on the letter. Basically, we just would like to send it along with the plat of the property for the right-of-way, also the report from and pictures from the bridge inspection. So, do I need to read this? Or
I have a question. Did the railroad currently pay taxes on the property? I would suggest holding this letter, and the letter I would send them is that we plan on taxing the property.
You can't.
Why? City of New Richmond did. And they acquired some railroad land at minimal or no cost.
Well, it's listed as exempt property, but if you know of something that I'm not
All I'm
familiar with,
suggesting is that
well,
if we, approving the letter or not, I'm just, this information was given to me, and I haven't heard any talk in that area, and while I'm not sure on where I go with the whole acquisition of the railroad property in the future, I kind of find it odd trying to negotiate with them over something that is more of a liability. And if we can explore where our taxing rights are with that property, that would certainly shift some leverage around a little bit, I would say, and then we don't have to write as many letters and perhaps go through the machinations of trying to have a legitimate deal, if you will.
I can get you that information pretty quick, Mark. I mean, there's a list of exemptions, and it's either on there or it's not, so I just double check
Okay.
that.
it's exempt. It's on the tax roll as exempt, unless there's some reason that it's no longer qualifies.
That's
It's
what
still
I'll check.
exempt.
Yeah, well, I don't know why it would qualify as exempt anymore. They don't
Yeah,
operate
If
there.
it's not used, maybe not.
It's interesting.
But that's on your to-do list.
I'll do that.
Thanks.
I don't think that, I agree with Mark, but I don't think the order changes it. I don't think this letter precludes doing that, so I think you could go in either.
Yeah,
way.
no, I just wanted to get that out before I forgot.
Okay.
I'm losing interest quickly.
It's the last thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll move
time I
to
wanna vote
approve the,
first.
well, I'm not sure where we at with the letter.
Do we need to approve anything? It's discussion only,
Oh.
from what I see. But is there any other comments? Personally, on a personal level, it's property down there, it's right near the river. It is, could be a beautiful addition to the village in terms of the parklands, right?
Right.
And it's
Your
almost no
question
value
would
to anybody
Huh?
else.
Yeah.
I'm not questioning
Yeah, I'm
that,
just- I-
I'm
you know, and I'm
just
not-
questioning what it's gonna cost to
Yeah,
bring it up.
I agree.
We have a
I
hard
agree
time
with
getting
you.
swing sets in parks.
Yeah, no, I agree
Talking a
with all
major
of that.
project here.
Yes, it
I think
is.
we've agreed
It
there's
is.
a pretty limited market for the property. If we're not interested,
Yeah.
I don't know anybody else that
Yeah.
is, so I'd hate to be negotiating with ourselves.
Yeah.
Well, don't-
I'm, for the record, for whatever it's worth, I'm a proponent for doing something down there, depending on cost. I just think it would be a good addition to the community.
Well, we just want to come up, just see where their opinion is. Also, we're applying for the grant, so to trying to make it as cost-effective for the village as we can. We know we can't just go out and spend as much as the property was assessed for. Even with the grant, that would be out of our price range. So we're just trying to see if we can get the cost as low as possible.
In the event they were to just, out of the goodness of their heart, give us the property, do we know what it would cost to remove the existing structure that's on it?
I think some of the numbers that were thrown out is, the piers, the substructure is actually in fairly good integrity. It's the deck
Oh, okay.
up above that would have to be improved. And back in 2002, we kind of threw a number at it around $110,000 just to upgrade it. So pretty significant cost.
So that would be reusing the existing piers, putting a new deck on it, turned into a bicycle path or
Yep.
some type of,
Yep.
yes, okay, interesting. So pretty much 150, 180,000 in that range.
Yep, since it's 8 years old now. So.
Okay. Cool, thank you very much.
Do we have anything else to add to the discussion? Okay, Colleen, thank you.
Okay.
I see item number 13. I'd entertain a motion to adjourn. We don't need one, but I'd still entertain one. Thank you. Hearing no objections, we're adjourned. Oh, one other thing for the board members before we are adjourned. Remember, 8 o'clock, September 22nd, for a board meeting. Thank you all.
That's over that extended premises.